Hello and welcome to Mecha Anime Reviews, and today we're gonna take a look at Space Warrior Baldios. Baldios was an anime series from 1980, directed by Kazuyuki Hirokawa, who strangely enough apparently worked on the Lensman movie I reviewed back in season 2, and was produced by Production Reed. It lasted only 34 episodes before it was abruptly cancelled due to low ratings. However, fan outcry led to Production Reed producing a movie in 1981 that not only recapped the original series, but provided a more fulfilling conclusion to the characters and story, which is the version we'll be taking a look at today. Speaking of which, what's the story? The planet of S1 is in trouble. For years now, the planet had been suffering under heavy pollution and is slowly rotting away. Just as scientists were finding a way to clean up the planet, Zeo Gatler, with his army of military fanatics, invade the laboratories and destroy their work. Marin, a child of one of the scientists, managed to escape the slaughter in a ship, angered over what his people had done. However, before he can do anything, his machine sends him to the planet Earth. When Gatler's army appears, Marin finds himself joining the military organization known as Bluefitzer, who convert his ship into a part of their recently completed robot, Baldios. Together, Marin and the Bluefitzer team face off against Gatler and the S1 forces, who are poised to take over the Earth and make it their new territory. The animation is alright for the time. There are points where it's choppy and it doesn't always flow well, but it's forgivable given its time period. The music is nice, surprisingly atmospheric and moody, which fits the somber tone of the series well. With the voice acting, I ran into a bit of a snag. I couldn't find the Japanese version with subtitles of the movie, so I can't talk about the seiyus or anything. Thankfully though, there is an English dub of the movie that was released by Celebrity Home Entertainment. The dub here is actually fairly decent. It's incredibly cheesy and the performances aren't stellar, but they do okay and it fits the movie alright. Like I said, the movie is a compilation that recaps the TV series while also providing a proper ending, and it does a decent job of doing that. It has a lot of good elements. The pacing is a bit choppy in the beginning, but later it relaxes and remains fairly solid, if a little bit too fast. The mecha designs are okay, not particularly memorable, except for the titular mech, which looks a lot like Daitarn 3 with Gundam's head. There aren't that many battles thanks to the nature of the compilation movie, but when they do happen, they're exciting and cool. The main character, Marin, is a pretty likable main character, being determined and courageous, and you sympathize with his motivation, wanting revenge for his father and wanting to protect the Earth. Gatler is actually an incredibly compelling villain. He's clearly evil, yet he also has a degree of standards. He wants to conquer the Earth to provide a new home, and is doing it while trying to keep it intact and undamaged to prevent what happened to S1 from happening again. By the end, you feel sorry for him as his plans get derailed not just by Marin, but also by his increasingly insane underlings undermining his authority. Speaking of which, if there's one thing the movie does well, is create an effective tragedy. You do get the sense of helplessness as things go catastrophically wrong, and the ending feels like an inevitable result of everything that happened rather than being something contrived or forced. The movie is morose and depressing, with tension, misunderstandings, and distrust, carrying a strong environmental message over protecting our planet and not letting it get destroyed. It's surprising that Tomino didn't direct this movie since it feels a lot like something he would do. Unfortunately, there are problems. Aside from Marin and Gatler, none of the characters are particularly interesting or memorable. They aren't fleshed out that much, with the extent of the character development for most of them being, they hate Marin, and then they don't. Aphrodite in particular is incredibly annoying. She's the single-minded loyal officer of the S1 military who's fixated on killing Marin for murdering her brother. And that's about it. Which wouldn't be a problem except the anime wants us to invest in Marin's interest in her and how tragic it is he couldn't be with her in the end. Marin's attraction to Aphrodite doesn't really make a whole lot of sense since they don't interact that much and Aphrodite continues to hate him even at the very end, so whatever bond was supposed to be between these two doesn't work and it's not developed properly. Despite the movie being called Baldios, the titular mech barely shows up and even the final battle has Marin outside of it for most of the fight. There are random scenes that go nowhere and there's a twist about the connection between humanity and the S1 that really wasn't needed. It felt like it was there for a cheap attempt at pathos rather than something truly meaningful and a part of the narrative. Ultimately, Baldios is an alright movie, It has some good elements, but on the whole, I don't really think it's great. It's an effective tragedy, but it needs a little bit more for me to really enjoy it. Oh well, see you next time on the next Mega Anime Reviews.
Then I could stop this raging time if there was